I'd like to help you out and show you a little game that I use with some of my students to help them along with reading notes. Sometimes it's not enough to just have them sitting here at the piano, maybe guessing, maybe using finger numbers, not really knowing if they're reading the notes correctly. So let me show you what I mean. It's a game actually where I'm going to want you to have them stand up, ditch the bench. We don't need the bench for this game. And there's 3 steps to it, 3 parts. Step number 1, all they're going to do is simply point to the note that they're trying to play. We're breaking this down into very, very simple steps. And let me bring this closer so I can show you what I mean. This is the song Rainforest, Piano Adventures, Level 1. There it is. That is the first note in the entire song. It's that bass clef F. All they're supposed to do is point to that. That's step number 1. Bring the book back over here. So step number 1, point to the note. Step number 2, they're to walk away from the piano over to this note chart here. And this note chart is from the primer level of Piano Adventures, right in the middle of the book. Someone nicely laminated it for me. And that chart is to be away from the piano, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. Step number 2 is to come over here and find the note that they pointed to in the song. They're supposed to find the note. They're supposed to find where the exact circle is. There's the circle right there. Bass clef F. And when they find it, they're just going to name it out loud. And that's it. They're going to point and say, F. And good. They found it, they named it. Step number 3, sorry I'm hunching over. I don't have a tall thing to put my camera on. Step number 3, they're going to come back to the piano, and they have to find that exact F on the piano. So it happens to be this F right below middle C right here. They can't play that F. They can't try to think it's that F. It has to be that exact F. So what's going on in this 3rd step is they've pointed to the note, they've identified the note over on the note chart. Now they have to come back and remember exactly which F that was, reorient themselves to where middle C is, and find that exact F or whatever that note was on the piano. So that's the game, and I'll just run through the game like a little bit at a quicker pace so you can see exactly how it should look when the student does it. So here I am, the student, here's how it should look for them. I'll find the 2nd note, step 1, find. I'm not naming it at this point, I'm not trying to think of where it is on the piano. Nothing. All I'm trying to do is point to the note, and that's all they should do as well. Point. Come over to the note chart, step number 2. I see that that note over there was on the little mini line right there in the middle, so I find it. It's middle C. I point to it, I name it. I remember what note it was, and I come back to the piano, and I play it. And also, we're not worrying about fingers yet, or hand position. This is simply taking the note from the page, knowing the name of it, and knowing exactly where it is on the piano. We're not adding in finger numbers or hand position just yet. There's a way to do that, which I can show you. But let's run through one more note. Point. Come over to the note chart. Find. It's a D. Come back. There it is. There's the exact D on the piano. It might seem to us adults or teachers as very simple or straightforward, or it might not seem to have much of a point to it. But when you really, really break it down to those small steps, especially for the younger kids, 6, 7, 8 years old, it really helps solidify in their minds what's going on in the note reading process. For those of you that want to continue watching, if you want to stop the tape right now, that's totally fine. You have everything you need to do the game with your own students. But for those of you that would like my thoughts on a little bit more about what's happening inside the mind when we're going through that process, or note reading process, here it is. You can continue to watch. Grab a bag of chips. So I believe what's happening when anyone is reading notes off the page, and we're not talking about reading by interval or reading by finger number, we're reading exactly by the note, by looking at the circle, knowing what it is and playing it. Here's what I believe is happening. Step number 1, when they're looking for the note in the book, this is a great exercise in focusing their visual attention onto the book, exactly in the exact spot where the note is. A lot of us might not even think about this or realize, but many of our students and many kids that are learning to read music don't actually even look at the circle to know where the note is. I've got kids that look at the line, the finger numbers. I had a student that was looking at the spaces between the notes. Some kids write in the note names. This is a great way to be sure they're looking exactly at the circle and nothing else. So that's what step number 1 is all about. They're finding the circle and pointing to the note. So step number 2, when they're walking away from the piano, this is an important distinction right here. When they're getting up and walking away from the piano, they have to hold in their memory, in the memory part of their brain, where that note was. That's important. It's exercising their memory. They come over to the chart, and if they remember where it was, now they have to link, they have to associate what line or space this note belonged to with where it is on the chart. And not only that, they have to be able to tell if it's top clef or bottom clef, right hand or left hand. And this is sometimes a small hang-up for some students. They're not always that good about telling what hand the note goes with, and you can try to work with them on that a little bit as a preparation to this game. But if they're good with that, then that's totally fine. So they've remembered where the note is. Now they're matching from their memory where that note is on the chart. Again, to us adults, this might seem like a pointless little game, a pointless little exercise, but to kids, where this is a very new thing for them, this is a very powerful game to really exercise, like I said, their memory, their shape recognition, and associating those two things together. Okay, so we've done step 1, we've done step 2, they've associated from their memory where the note is here. Now, when they come back to the piano, they're exercising their memory again. They have to remember where the note was that they found on the chart. And if you notice, what I utilize a lot with some kids is this chart is, I really like this chart. They've got the note, the drawing of the note in the staff here, but then they connect it to what it should look like on the real piano. And sometimes I'll add a little secondary step to step 2. The kids will find the note here and name it, but then just trace their finger or their pencil up to the picture of the note as it should look on the piano, and then that will help them find it on the real piano. So when they're coming back over to the real piano, over here, now they have to remember the name of the note, and they have to reorient themselves visually to the real piano and find that note here. They find it, and they play it. So